Before they could react, the SUV sped up, trying to force them off the road. Tires screeched, horns blared, and the world spun as their car swerved dangerously close to the edge of a bridge. Victor's heart pounded as he yelled, "Chinedu! Hold it steady!" A shot rang out. The back window shattered. Chinedu ducked just in time. With one desperate swerve, he managed to escape down a narrow street, losing the attackers in the chaos of traffic. Breathing hard, Chinedu pulled over. "They tried to kill us," he said, voice trembling. Victor stared into the night, his face hardened like stone. "This isn't just business anymore," he growled. "This is war." From that night, Victor and Chinedu started working in secret. They built their company under a false name, hiding their moves while quietly gathering evidence against Bamadil and Marcus. They contacted old allies who still owed Victor favors, piecing together a network of support. Every day was a battle, between fear and courage, despair and hope. But with each small victory, Victor's confidence grew. Still, the enemy was watching, and they were not done. One evening, as Victor returned to the apartment, he found the door ajar. "Chinedu," he called. Silence. He stepped inside cautiously, and his heart froze. The apartment was ransacked, papers torn, laptop smashed. On the wall, written in red paint, were the words, "Last warning. Next time, it's blood." And Chinedu was nowhere to be found. The apartment was silent except for the pounding of Victor's own heartbeat. The message on the wall dripped like fresh blood, and fear gnawed at his insides. Chinedu, the one person who had stood by him, was gone. Victor sank to his knees, trembling, but rage soon replaced despair. "They think they can break me by taking him," he whispered to himself. "They have no idea who they're dealing with." Minutes later, his phone buzzed. An unknown number. When he answered, a distorted voice spoke. "We have your friend. If you value his life, stop whatever you're planning. Leave Lagos. Forget about revenge. You have until tomorrow to disappear, or you'll get him back in pieces." The line went dead. Victor gritted his teeth. Cowards. He knew this wasn't just about money. It was about power, control, and fear. But fear was something he had learned to conquer. That night, under the heavy rain, Victor scoured the city. He visited shady contacts, bribed informants, and followed whispers through the back alleys of Lagos. One name kept coming up. The warehouse by the old docks, a place where those who crossed powerful men often vanished forever. With nothing to lose, Victor went there alone. The warehouse was dimly lit, the sound of rain echoing through the metal roof. Inside, 2 armed men guarded Chinedu, who was tied to a chair, bruised but alive. Victor slipped in through the side entrance, gripping a metal rod he had picked up outside. His heart pounded like a war drum. One guard turned, and Victor struck, knocking him unconscious. The other raised his gun, but Victor swung the rod with desperate strength, disarming him and sending the weapon skittering across the floor. Chinedu looked up, blood trickling from his lip. "Sir, you came." Victor cut the ropes. "I'll always come." Before they could escape, slow clapping echoed from the shadows. Marcus stepped out, smiling coldly. "Impressive, Victor. You still have fight in you. But this is the last time you interfere in our business." Victor clenched his fists, stepping forward. "You stole everything from me. You tried to kill me. You took my friend. Now I'll take back my life, and I'll destroy you." Marcus chuckled. "You don't even know the full truth yet. You think I acted alone." He leaned closer, whispering, "It was your wife who gave me access to your accounts. She opened the door for us." Victor's face went pale, his breath catching. "You're lying." Marcus smirked. "Am I? Ask her yourself, if she survives what's coming." Before Victor could react, Marcus threw a smoke grenade, disappearing into the chaos. By the time the air cleared, he was gone. Victor and Chinedu stumbled out into the rain, coughing. "Sir," Chinedu gasped, "what did he say to you?" Victor stared into the storm, his face a mask of rage and pain. He said, "Aurora betrayed me, and I believe him." As the rain poured harder, Victor made a vow in the darkness. "This ends soon, one way or another." Far away, a phone rang in a luxury apartment. Aurora answered, her voice trembling. Is it done? A voice on the other end replied, cold and merciless. Not yet. But soon, he'll wish he had stayed dead. The rain had stopped, but the storm inside Victor burned fiercer than ever. After the warehouse incident, he and Chinedu relocated to a safe house on the outskirts of Lagos. Victor had only one mission. Now, to rise again and make those who betrayed him pay. Chinedu, despite his injuries, insisted they start immediately. I won't let fear slow us down, he said with a determined look. Together, they worked day and night. Using Chinedu's tech expertise, they developed a real estate tech platform that connected property owners and buyers seamlessly. It was discreet at first, but word spread quickly. Investors began to show interest, impressed by the innovation. Victor, Chinedu said one evening as they reviewed contracts, you're getting your touch back. They won't see this coming. Victor smirked. No, they won't. By the time they realize, it'll be too late. But business wasn't the only thing he worked on. Quietly, Victor hired a private investigator to dig into Bamadil, Marcus, and Aurora. The results were devastating. Proof of secret bank transfers, photos of secret meetings, and documents linking Aurora to the offshore scan. Each revelation was a dagger to his heart. But he needed the pain. It sharpened his resolve. Just when their new company was gaining momentum, disaster struck. One morning, Victor arrived at the office to find police cars outside. What's happening? He asked an officer. You're under investigation for fraud and money laundering. The officer replied, slapping documents onto his desk. Victor's jaw clenched. This is fabricated. The officer shrugged. Tell it to the court. As they left, Victor's phone buzzed with a text. You should have disappeared when you had the chance. Marcus had struck again, framing him with false evidence. Overnight, investors pulled out. Contracts were cancelled. And the media labelled Victor a criminal. They fled to another safe house, but tension hung heavy in the air. That night, as Victor went out to clear his head, he returned to find the door wide open. Inside, Chinedu was lying on the floor, bleeding from a gunshot wound. No, no, no. Victor dropped to his knees, cradling his friend. Sir, Chinedu whispered, coughing blood. Don't stop. Keep fighting. Rise again. Victor's eyes filled with tears. Stay with me, Chinedu. Please. But the young man's breathing grew weaker. With his last SDR, this has everything you need to bring them down. And with that, Chinedu's eyes closed forever. Victor screamed into the night, his pain echoing through the walls. Under the dim light, Victor held the USB tightly, tears streaming down his face. They've taken everything from me, he growled, his voice trembling with rage. But this time, I'll burn their world to the ground. As lightning struck in the distance, Victor swore an oath over Chinedu's lifeless body. For every drop of your blood, I'll make them pay. Far away, Marcus received a call. Chinedu is dead, the assassin reported. Marcus smiled. Good. Now finish Adiwale. The night after Chinedu's death, Victor sat in silence, staring at the USB drive. His grief was heavy, but his anger was heavier. He plugged it into an old laptop and opened the files. What he found inside was dynamite. Documents, recordings, offshore bank statements, every crime Marcus, Bamadil, and even Aurora had committed was laid bare. There were secret meetings recorded, contracts proving money laundering, and evidence of government officials they bribed to stay untouchable. Chinedu had died to secure this. Victor would not let his death be in vain. The next day, Victor met secretly with an investigative journalist known for exposing corruption. This is enough to bring down half the elite in Lagos. The journalist whispered after reviewing the files. Then publish it, Victor said coldly. Let the world see the truth. Within 24 hours, news outlets exploded with reports. Shocking leaks, billionaire fraud and government collusion exposed. Evidence links Marcus and Bamadil to massive scandal. The story went viral. Protests erupted. Politicians scrambled to distance themselves from a scandal. Investors who had abandoned Victor started calling again, desperate to partner with the man who had the courage to expose the rot. For the first time, Victor felt the tide turning in his favor. But Marcus was not the kind of man to fall quietly. That evening, Victor returned to the safe house to find an envelope on the table. Inside was a photo of Aurora and his children, tied up, blindfolded. On the back was a message written in bold letters. Surrender the evidence. Come alone. Tomorrow night. Or they die. Victor's heart pounded. The enemies had his family. For a moment, he considered giving in. But then he remembered Chinedu's last words. He called the journalist. Hold on to the files. Release everything if I don't call you by midnight tomorrow. The next night, Victor walked into an abandoned construction site, his hands empty. Shadows moved in the darkness, armed men. Marcus and Bamadil standing like predators. Aurora and the children were tied to a chair, terrified. You're braver than I thought, Marcus sneered. But brave men die first. Victor glared at them. Let them go. This is between us. Bamadil chuckled. You still think you can win? Even with your little leaks, we own the city. Victor smirked. Not anymore. By now, every news outlet in Lagos has the full files. Even if you kill me, you're finished. Marcus's face darkened. Then you die screaming. He raised his gun. Suddenly, police sirens wailed in the distance. SWAT teams stormed the site, surrounding the gang. The journalist had tipped them off. Chaos erupted, gunfire, shouting, and smoke filling the air. Victor untied his children while Marcus and Bamadil tried to escape. As Marcus fled, he turned back and fired at Victor. The bullet grazed his arm, but before Marcus could shoot again, police snipers took him down. Bamadil was caught trying to bribe an officer on the spot. As Aurora trembled, Victor looked at her with cold eyes. You worked with them, he said quietly. Tears streamed down her face. Victor, I was scared. They threatened me. I didn't mean to. He stepped back. You made your choice. Now live with it. Police took her away for questioning as Victor stood in the flashing lights, his children clinging to him. But as Marcus was carried to an ambulance, barely alive, he smiled through blood-stained teeth and whispered to Victor, This isn't over. Someone bigger than me is coming for you. Victor's heart sank. The war was not over. It was only beginning. Weeks passed after the dramatic raid. Marcus and Bamadil were behind bars, their empire of corruption dismantled. The files leaked by Chinedu had shaken the entire city, bringing down officials, businessmen, and criminals alike. For Victor, it was the beginning of a new chapter. With the support of investors who once abandoned him, he rebuilt his company under a new name.